what this act has done is empowered Federal Maritime Commission to regulate the detention demurrage charges, which is imposed by steamship line, the ocean shipping carriers, which they deem right now they charge as per what they deem fit for their economy or whatever business model they have. So what's happening is right now, Port of New York has X dollars per day charges up to X number of days, and then tariff changes after 5 days or 7 days, and it increases accordingly. Similarly, Los Angeles Long Beach is a different tariff. Rail terminals have a different tariff for detention and demurrage. So what FMC can do is basically the FMC can put a rule across to all, I would say standardize a detention and demurrage charges for all terminals and rail ramps, which is workable by end users. Now, when they do that, yes, you and me feel good because yes, that will add to the end user's cost. And that will basically, step towards the right direction to control the inflation, which is rising. Supply chain costs are rising the prices of the material out there on the shelves. So that's a step in the right direction. But the broader spectrum of the things, when they put the rule across, then the steamship lines and the terminals mainly, that are controlled by the labor unions and all, right? So basically that will hurt their baseline if the prices or the tariff set by or the guidance set by FMC, if it is not workable by terminals or by steamship lines, there will be challenges because then they will be countering it with the lawsuits and whatever it may be that, because the government is planning to bring the cost low, whereas terminals are always increasing the costs. That is why this act has to come in play, because those costs has continuously risen in the last few years. Like per detention and demurrage per day, I remember it back in 90s or early 2000s. Demurrage costs I think so in PNCT were starting somewhere around $125 or something per day. Now it's pretty much 200 plus a day for the first 4 or 5 days. So basically in kind of 15-year span, it's almost doubled. Right? So basically this regulation is definitely a step towards the right direction. And the bigger picture, John, I would say is like, IATA regulates all the airlines of the world. Okay. They regulate the tariffs and the rates, air freight rates and the airport terminals, in whole spectrum on the passenger cargo side as well as passenger side. There is an international organization called IATA.
IATA, right.
Right. Now, in the ocean side, if you compare, there is no such organization in place which is internationally regulating the ocean trade, ocean shipping. So what's happening is that every country have their own way of operating. Like China operates the way they operate. Like you see in the act only, they're saying FMC contained a study that steamship line refused to take the exports from United States to overseas. Why? Because they want their empty containers back. Out of their study, 2 steamship line came as on the top, which completely refused taking any loaded container from United States. Which shipping companies were there? Or OOCL, which is Orient Ocean Shipping Line and Container Line, and Costco. Both are Chinese steamship lines, owned and operated by Chinese government. So they decided we will not take any exports from United States. They can rightly do so because they are not controlled any. Now, if there is any international organization on top and they set the rules, hey, you cannot voluntarily decide to, okay, we will not take the exports out. Oh yeah, you set the tariff in place and which is acceptable by everybody, but you cannot just say, okay, fine, because we need containers back, we will not take this cargo back. So why it's affecting US? Because US exports lots and lots of agri-goods, okay, which is kind of perishable in a way, right? And cheese, all those edible stuff, if exports are like, they say we will not take your exports, or if they say we'll take export when we want to, that basically makes this cargo sit at the terminals or sit at their warehouses for a longer time, which reduces their shelf life and quality of goods, which is reduction in revenue for US companies.